All right, my friends, it's been a little while. We're going to give it a go here. I'm going to speak from the heart. I'm going to give it all I've got. I'm going to be direct. I'm going to be concise. And I'm going to be honest. 2025 has been the most painful and beautiful year of my life. I lost my dad in January of this year, and I also fell in love with my fiance this year. So, lots of feelings this year, lots of emotions. One of my takeaways of 2025 is I'm done sugarcoating. I am tired of people protecting, justifying systems that are devastating my culture, my community, and my family. So today, I'm going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about what's crazy, what's not, what's radical, what isn't. We're going to talk about some conventional medicine. We're going to talk about tree doctors, how they work. We're going to talk about some food. We're going to talk about some podcasts. And I'm going to mention the PMA thing, how exactly that works, why it's important, and why it's really cool. So let's jump right in. Earlier this year, I did a 40-day, 40-night experiment where I dedicated to eating 100% real food. I didn't have a single morsel of processed food for this 40 days. I told my friend and mentor that I was doing this, and he said, "Whoa, that's radical." Which really impacted me. Because I do a lot of progressive things. And that was the first time he just looked at me and said, "That's radical." And so months later, I'm sitting here wondering, how far has society come that choosing to eat real food for 40 days is radical? Choosing to not consume any processed food at all for 40 days is a radical thing to do. I recognize that it was. And after now having done so, it's like, wow. That's pretty radical. That's pretty crazy in and of itself, is it not? That a crazy, progressive, radical thing for me to do is to eat real food for 40 days. Guys, society is way off the rails. We're living in this crazy time where a lot of things are normal because they've been that way our whole life, but they are a drastic deviation from what would be considered normal across a human history timeline or even an American timeline. Jonathan Isbell said it really beautifully. He said, "We're confusing common for normal." Obesity is common. It's not normal. Diabetes, cancer, they're common. They're not normal. They're not common in other parts of the world. Common is a pretty relative thing. They're common here in America. And so our doctors are telling us that's normal. That's normal. Oh, that happens. That just happens. That happens with aging. Everybody gets cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. Like, that's normal. It's like, no, it isn't. It's not. It's common. I feel like he nailed it on the head there. Shout out, Jonathan. And so our culture is confused. We're sick. At this point in time, everyone gets a chronic disease. Everybody. You don't meet people in America who don't end up with a chronic disease. This is common. It's not normal. Doesn't have to be that way. Didn't used to be that way. The idea that a disease is a lottery, a genetic, unfortunate circumstance that comes from a time when everyone lived an active lifestyle and everyone ate only real food. Diet and lifestyle, they weren't an issue. Nature forced human beings to live with a healthy diet and lifestyle. There wasn't another option. If anything, it was too much work. And now, all of a sudden, we wake up in 2025 and the fundamental tenets of nature, which nobody ever even thought about, are our biggest problems. We don't have real food. We don't have a proper physical routine. So let's call it what it is. Common. It's not normal. It's common to prescribe little girls birth control. Who's being radical now? I'm being radical for choosing to eat real food for 40 days? But doctors aren't being radical for putting little girls on birth control? Drugs? I'm radical for eating food, but doctors aren't radical for giving your 16-year-old anti-anxiety drugs? Which, even that is a euphemism to call it an anti-anxiety drug. It's a depressant. Antidepressants are stimulants. They're drugs. These are chemical drugs. So what's actually crazy? The amount of money that pharmaceutical companies make, the agreements that those companies have with our government, the fact that those laws are then placed and affected at our schools, that nurses are in line with these protocols, that doctors are in line with these protocols, everybody's getting drugs, kids are getting drugs. Ozempic, they're giving them to 6-year-olds. 6-year-olds in this country have been given Ozempic. So what's happening here? Am I crazy? I don't think so, guys. And I think we all know it. And I know you know it because we talk about it. Everybody I meet knows it. It's not a big secret. There's always more to learn. But we know it. This is crazy. It's gone too far. It's time to step away. It's not normal. We shouldn't accept it as normal. Guys, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I have come to hate conventional medicine. Let me be crystal clear. I hate the conventional medical system, and I hate the results that it's producing. I don't hate doctors. I love doctors. I love people. I love nurses. I love nurse practitioners. I love doctors. I love physicians. I love people with good hearts. I hate a broken system that causes death and disease in the millions. So again, am I crazy? I don't think so. You know what occurred to me the other day? How many people died in the Holocaust? Let's call it 5 million people. That, excuse me, that was a humanitarian crisis of great evil. Without a doubt. How many people are dying from conventional medicine? Way more than 5 million. Tens of millions. How long will it be before we enter into hundreds of millions? How many quality of life years have been lost due to conventional medicine, the conventional medical system? How many people have died unnecessarily from from adverse drug reactions. Millions. So we make museums. Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, I am in favor of honoring and acknowledging the Holocaust and their survivors and what happened and learning from what happened there. Let's not get confused. The point I'm making is that conventional medicine is killing people in my country and in my culture in far greater numbers than that tragedy did. And we're all just okay with it. Everyone just keeps on going. I am so sick and tired of every single podcast I listen to when the question comes up, what do you think about pharmaceutical drugs? Do pharmaceutical drugs have a place in medicine? Everyone says, yeah, they have their place. Yeah, pharmaceutical drugs, yeah, they have their place. Modern medicine has done some good things. Who cares? Guns have their place. Rocket launchers have their place. Does that mean you want to use them all the time? Right? People who have guns, one general argument is that, well, they want a gun to protect themselves, but they don't want to use it. When they're not using it, they're keeping it in a safe. It's in a gun safe, protected, far away. That's how I feel about conventional medicine. Conventional medicine is a last resort. It's a last-ditch effort because they do radical things. They give you radical drugs which can actually kill you and do kill people in the millions. They do radical surgeries. They take body parts out of your body. They tell you, oh yeah, you don't need it. Guys, they're driven by your sickness. They're incentivized by your sickness. If magic healing came down from the sky and everyone was 100% healthy, the conventional medical system would collapse instantaneously because nobody would ever go. So this system is incentivized by death and disease. It misinforms and it produces lies and misinformation and a lack of education, and it suppresses truth. It suppresses knowledge. And so I have come to hate it. Is that a general sweeping truth? No. Do I hate every single aspect of conventional medicine? No. If I get hit by a bus, please take me to the hospital. I'll be very happy that the hospital is there. There are exceptions to the rule, of course, but I'm not talking about the exceptions. I'm talking about the majority, which is what we should be talking about. That's why I'm so sick and tired of everybody saying, "Oh, pharmaceutical drugs have their place." Okay, fine. Let's talk about the 98% where they don't have their place. Let's talk about the 98% of people who are getting drugs. Let's talk about the high blood pressure drugs that aren't working. Let's talk about weight loss drugs that are the highest side effect drugs on the planet that humanity has literally ever seen. Let's talk about all these drugs that people are getting. Let's talk about all of our little girls on birth control, or all of our young women on antidepressants, on anti-anxiety drugs. These things are drugs. Please don't call them medicines. They are not medicine. A medicine is something that returns you to your natural state of health. A medicine is ginger lemon tea when you're sick. It makes you feel better, you stop taking it. Something you take for your life that's a chemical drug is not a medicine. So you want to talk about being progressive and being radical? I think it's in your best interest to walk away from the conventional medical system. I do. I think the numbers make that crystal clear. You know, the immediate argument is, what if something happens? Well, you can be guaranteed something's going to happen if you stay in the conventional medical system. Those are the stats. This isn't philosophy. That's what's happening. These are the numbers. Everybody's blood work is normal until they get diagnosed with a chronic disease, and then they get a pharmaceutical drug. That's the standard of care. So to say, oh, well, what if an emergency happens and I need conventional medicine, and that's the justification to stay in the system that assures that you will get a chronic disease, it doesn't make sense. So I maintain the position that it is in the general person's best interest to walk away from conventional medicine. One reason I think that is because of an experience that I had with my dentist. I had Indiana healthcare, HIP, and that's what I used to go to my dentist for a number of years. And this year, I decided I'm not going to take advantage of that benefit anymore. I'm not interested in receiving benefits from the government. So I decided I'm not going to my dentist anymore. Lo and behold, the very next morning, I did oil pulling, which is an Ayurvedic practice, very good for oral health. And it struck me, the day that I said I'm not going to the dentist anymore, I started taking my oral health into my own hands. And that's one of the biggest reasons I think it is so beneficial for the general person, especially a young, healthy person, to leave conventional healthcare. Even the fact that you're going there is an illusion. It makes you think that you're tending to your health. You go to the doctor. Let's say you're 21 years old. You go to the doctor. They run your blood test and they say, hey, all your numbers are normal. You're looking good. Come back next year. What does that actually mean, though, right? Because in your head, you're thinking, great, I'm in good health. All my numbers are normal. There's nothing wrong. But what is normal? Normal is everybody gets cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. So your normal blood work, that's leading you to normal cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. People who have cancer, heart disease, and diabetes now had normal blood work 20, 30 years ago. Normal blood work is trash. I really don't think it means that much, if I'm being 100% honest. I'm not saying it's useless. I've used blood work in my practice. It's been beneficial. However, it's far from... I think it creates an illusion, right? It's far from what I believe most people think it is. I believe that most people think blood work is a very solid, super modern, futuristic, scientific, sophisticated understanding of your health, which it's not at all. So guys, now you know how I really feel. Here's a fun one. This is what's happening with conventional medicine. Simple. I want you to imagine that you are a tree doctor. You are a doctor of trees. You help trees stay healthy. If I bring you to my home and I show you my sick tree, I take you over, I say, look, the leaves, they're all brown and they're withering and they've got this like mold on them. What are you going to do? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to say, have you been watering it? Is it getting enough sunlight? Does it have enough room? Is it getting the nutrients from the soil that it needs? Because you know that the health of the leaves is dependent on the health of the tree. And you know that the health of the tree is founded in its foundational pillars of health, which are good soil, water, and sunlight. That's a real science of medicine. What conventional medicine is doing is coming up to that same tree, plucking off one of those leaves and putting it under the microscope. And coming up with drugs to make that leaf look healthy again. That's what conventional medicine is doing. That's why it doesn't work. And that's why everyone is obsessed with the phrase root cause. Because conventional medicine is just taking leaves, pumping them with drugs to make them look pretty. They're not addressing the root cause of the problem. So there you have it, my friends. Be a tree doctor. That's how health actually works. Coming back to America, another thing that I am tired of is all of these podcasts that are talking about this new thing of health, and that's what we need to be focused on. First, it was vitamin D. Guys, vitamin D, it's everything. Vitamin D levels. It's all about the vitamin D. I listened to a guy, it's all about nitric oxide, your nitric oxide levels. They actually determine all of this and all of that, and it's all about nitric oxide. It's the future of medicine. Microbiome is the future of medicine. That's the closest one. There's more. Hormones. It's all about hormones. It's all about your hypothalamus and your pineal glands. I listened to a podcast the other day on methylene blue. It's all about methylene blue, guys. No, it's not. It's about the food you're eating. My friends, my family, people that I love, make no mistake. Be not confused for a moment. There is one primary cause of disease in the United States of America, and it is the food. It is the processed food. By processed food, I don't mean McDonald's. I mean 80% of what's at the grocery store, maybe more. Guys, all of the food is processed. I learned this year that the flour at the store is processed. The flour that comes in a bag, I thought that was a real food. It's not. It's processed. When you go to a restaurant, the bread that they give you is processed. It's made from a processed flour. They're using processed oils. Have you guys noticed that every Thai food that you go to, not only in this state, but in any state in the country, looks the same? It uses the same vegetables? Guys, there are giant food conglomerates that make food in huge amounts and sell it all across the country. This is not just the case with Thai restaurants. This is all restaurants. Guys, Panera Bread, when you get a butternut squash soup from Panera Bread, which I used to love, until I realized that the butternut squash soup tastes exactly the same every single day, not only here in Indiana, but if I get a butternut squash soup in California, or if I get one in Colorado or in Maine, the butternut squash soup tastes exactly the same. Do you know why? Because they're making it in huge, massive, giant vats in some factory somewhere. They're pumping it full of stuff so that it stays good. Then they're freezing it. Then they're shipping it all across America. And then they're warming it up and serving it to you under the guise of we use real food. We make real ingredients. We're all about healthy food. Guys, the healthy food is processed. The food is processed. That is the number one cause of disease in this country. It's not about supplements. It's not about drugs. It's not about biomarkers. It's the food. Please. Just know that. I just want you to know. I just need you to be informed. You also might want to know that all conditions of health are affected by the food that you eat. The food that you eat is the fuel for your body. You know, a book came out in the 70s, I think, called You Are What You Eat. It's like, that's correct. If you stop eating, you'll die. So what you're eating is the thing that your body is using to replenish your tissues. There's not actually like an apple or a piece of chicken sitting in your arm, but your body breaks those things down into the constituents and elements required to rebuild them back up into living tissues. That's what the body does. That's what your digestive system is doing. And so, another thing that everybody loves to say, let food be thy medicine. Guys, Hippocrates really meant that. Food is a medicine, and there's an entire science to it. Don't be fooled. Okay. That did come out quick. Let's talk about the PMA. PMA stands for Private Membership Association. PMA, Private Membership Association. A PMA is a private club. A PMA is a private club where voluntary participants are able to trade with one another freely and voluntarily. That's it. A PMA is a private club where we get to trade with one another as we see fit. There's also the fact that it's private means that we're not asking for governmental protections and oversight and regulations. We're saying it's private. Just like if you came to my house. If you came to my house for dinner, we're not asking the government to make sure that the food that I provide you is up to government standards, which are hilarious because it's like clearly the government shouldn't be making standards because their standards are the one that is having us all end up with cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. But we're not going to go down that road again. There are no regulations when you come to my house because it's a private affair. A PMA, a private membership association, is just that. It's just a club where we interact privately amongst ourselves as we see fit. Farmers are getting into this. That's how I learned about it, because the government places high fees, regulations, oversight on a farmer who's just trying to sell some milk and eggs. So we became the medical version of that. We're PMA. So all of our services, nourished, clinical practice, etc., it's all housed within the PMA because we want to be free. We want to be free to practice medicine. We want to be free to provide our members with life-giving services, which otherwise the government makes it really hard to do because they profit from your sickness and disease. Other than that, guys, I just want to say thank you. The gratitude in my heart for each and every person that supports me and gains value from me is tremendous. That's what it's all about in my eyes. It's all about trading. It's all about sharing. It's all about learning. If I can provide you value, amazing. If you can provide me value, amazing. Let's trade value for our mutual best interest. Have a very Merry Christmas. I love Christmas. It's my favorite time of the year. So get out there, have a good time, or stay in because it's cold. Have a good time. Whatever you do, have a good time. I love you guys. God bless.